morning, everyone. It is February 16th, Monday morning. We do have a lot of rain in Southern California, a lot of wind swell along the coast also. Looking pretty nasty out there. Conditions should clear up, though, by Wednesday. A dramatic change in the weather is expected during the second half of the week. We are looking at some offshore conditions coming in, and we do have some ground swell, looks like, headed our way for Friday, Saturday. Some of this is still out on the long range, but it looks like everything's coming together real nicely to keep something off the coast, just to bring us some ground swell and keep that stormy weather away from Southern California. Wanted to show you what's going on with the models today. Here's what's happening right now. Wanted to start off talking about the weather models. We can see Southern California here on the relative vorticity model. That big, strong, low pressure in red, that's that storm coming ashore. We can see that that's going to continue to progress along our coast. Another low is going to be diving down. This is the one of interest. This is the one that could be bringing us some swell, and here's why. Normally these storms lately would be caught in a clockwise spin coming around our area, but that's going to change. We're looking at what's called an inverted omega pattern. That's where that low would stay far offshore, and two high-pressure ridges would start pushing northward. One would be west of Hawaii, west of that low, and then the other one would be to the east of it, right off our coast, right off Southern California. Look at the long-range models here. This is looking 72 hours out. You can see where Southern California is. That ridge of high pressure should push into the area and act as a blocking pattern, keeping that low far off our coast, and that would guide it southward, still throwing some swell our way, but keeping the stormy weather a good distance from our coast. Taking a rewind in time and going back to today, you can see that big wind swell fetch sitting off the coast of Southern California, and that's going to be pushing southward even more. We're looking at this afternoon, according to the models, where we'd see a stronger fetch forming off the Northern California coast. So we're still looking at heavy wind swell in through Tuesday, and then that's going to start fading. But here's that next swell coming down. We can see that starting to drop down. That's associated with that low just shown previously in the weather models. That guy should even progress further south, just like the weather models were showing the low would. This is the fetch, about 20-foot seas, staying at least 1,000 miles off the Southern California coast. That's a pretty good distance for ground swell. So we're looking at this one giving us somewhat of an ETA for swell, building in through Friday, coming in through Saturday. That swell should build a little bit more. This is about 20-25 foot seas at most, but pushing a little bit farther off the coast. But we should be seeing some 14-second periods come in from that. It'll be moving though farther away from Southern California as the weekend progresses. And looking out farther on the long range, we're looking at stuff coming out of the Western Pacific, but that strong high pressure ridge that was blocking the west side of that low would also be pushing those Westpac systems far to the north, so they'd be northbound and not necessarily bringing us swell for the long range. And of course, anytime we see high pressure move in, we're looking at offshore conditions, at least the possibility of it. And wind charts seem to be in agreement with that. These are the automated wind charts that I generate over at wavecast.com. This is showing Southern California, angled wind highlighted in blue for Thursday and Friday. Offshore conditions coming in from about a east-northeasterly angle. Could get maybe possibly a little bit breezy at some of the wind-prone spots. We're going to have to see how this high pressure ridge develops over the next few days. So it may be stormy right now in Southern California, and a lot of wind swell along the coast, rainy conditions, possibly hail and thunderstorm throughout the day. But that's all going to change. Obviously, the storm will pass. That looks to be the case around Wednesday. Offshore conditions building Thursday and the Friday, hopefully holding into the weekend. Strong high pressure is supposed to move in, blocking that storm that would be coming down from the Gulf of Alaska, only allowing some of its swell to hit us in around Friday, building into Saturday. It does look like it's going to be a very strong swell event, staying 1,000 miles off the California coast with only 20-foot fetch. We're looking at about chest, maybe shoulder high surf coming into west-facing breaks from about 280, 290 degrees. So that looks to be about the best swell for right now in the long range. Everything else is looking a little bit smaller, but if you want to get all the details on all the ETAs, wind, weather, tide, and more, you can always check out my SoCal Surf Report at wetsand.com.